Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here. As said, I run an organisation called Creative and Cultural Skills in the UK, and Freddie and the SARA folk have been to my conference in various places around the UK for the last 5 conferences, so it's particularly good to be invited here and to come back and see what you're doing here in South Africa. I've been asked to talk about building partnerships between the creative industries and education, and it's something I've been involved with since the 1970s as a teacher, education manager, a funder at our Arts Council, and now in my current organisation. I think I've learned a lot over those years, and I don't think we've got everything right in the UK, but I do think there's quite a lot you can borrow, steal, use, find and replace, because actually there's a huge amount of work still to do, and if you can learn in any way from any of the work that we've done, we'd be delighted to do that. I'm going to take a wider perspective than live arts and production and think about the creative industries in general, but live arts and production is an excellent example of the challenges we face. It's a very specialist area that requires very high-level skills, but of course it's replicated many, many times across the creative industries. So we could look at craft or jewellery or design or any other aspect and we'd find exactly the same challenges. So I'm really encouraged that live arts and production is really getting its act together. This is based on my experience of the UK, but I know, and I think you know, and I certainly felt yesterday, that all the issues and trends are the same. And I've changed my speech around quite a bit because John and Adrian stole a bit of my thunder. So the PowerPoint might not meet exactly what I'm saying. And also, I put it on my iPad, so I'm immigrating to digital live on this stage. So we'll see how that all works. So in summary, we've got a new sector called the creative industries. It's doing quite well, but it's largely operating unplanned and could do better, and the link between education and the sector is poor. It doesn't behave in the same way as the traditional industries, and it needs a lot of workers, and education is struggling to supply the opportunities to young people. Now, if you have listened to John and Adrian yesterday, and you listen to me, you may get the impression that the UK is full of the most advanced, creative, digital classrooms on the planet. I'm afraid that's not true. You just found 3 people who agree about all of that. So you have a chance to go further than we are in the UK. There's some good examples of creative thinking, and some of the things that John showed on the videos yesterday is the sort of thing I think we all think should be happening, but it's not happening in most schools in the UK. I'm going to draw on this document, and I do encourage you to download it afterwards. It's not a world document, it's about the UK, but I think in terms of making a difference and going to the next stage, you're going to want to create some sort of plan for what you're going to be doing. And there's a lot to be said for taking documents like that one, putting your own statistics in it, and then looking at some of the trends and how they work. It's very important, I would say, that we know all this stuff. We know what we believe the analysis is at this point, so that we can make the argument to politicians, policymakers, arts funders, skills councils, and the rest. But first, an introduction to my organisation. Creative and Cultural Skills is a licensed sector skills council recognised by government across the UK. We were set up in 2005 to cover craft, cultural heritage, design, literature, music, performing and visual arts, with an equivalent body, creative skill set for advertising, fashion, publishing, games, film and TV. The statistics I'll use today are the same across both, and we were originally government funded as a sector skills council, but the last government cut all sectoral funding, so now we're an independent charity and everything we do has to be financially sustainable. So I'm hoping that all the stuff that we've learned will go straight into your SETAs, and then by the time our government changes back, we can just take on the learning that you have adopted. So we focus on providing industry-endorsed careers advice and guidance, making opportunities for students to engage with our industry as part of their courses, Apprenticeships because we believe that vocational education has been the missing educational link in the creative industries. And we deliver apprenticeships in partnership with FE colleges, working directly with employers, and increasingly helping employers to deliver apprenticeships themselves. Our aim is to bring industry and education together. And we also run a training centre in Purfleet, Essex. This is part of a regeneration programme in the Thames Gateway. I'll say more about this at the end because it's part of our view that education and creative industries can be most successful when they work together in a genuinely place-specific job creation and training programme. So the UK context, and this little bit I'm going to do now is very much your business case. If you're going to write a plan, you need the case for why you're writing the plan, and this, in my view, is the case. So in the last 15 years, we in the UK have been through a turbulent time, beginning with rapid growth, followed by the 2008 financial crisis, and then a subsequent return to modest growth. But what people don't tend to say is that we've seen a dramatic change in the workforce. Self-employment has mushroomed because of the lack of other opportunities. Small businesses, as John said yesterday, have led the recovery, and the public sector has been squeezed. In 2013, the Office of National Statistics reported public sector employment at 18%, and that was before the last round of major cuts, so it's already a lot smaller than that. The number of people employed in the UK creative industries is equivalent to the major public sectors like health and education, with 1.8 million people working in each. The creative industries contribute 77 billion per year to the UK economy, that's 5%. And yesterday we heard that the contribution to the economy here is 9.5 billion rand, and that's 2.9%. In the UK, employment in this sector increased by 8.6% between 2011 and 12, compared to 0.7% for the UK as a whole. This makes the creative industries the fastest growing sector. And also we know that the creative industries as a whole have never lost staff numbers in any of the three major recessions since the 1970s. And that's a quite extraordinary figure. And that's at a time when research in the United States says that 47% of all current jobs in the economy across the world are at risk due to automation. Creative occupations, by contrast, are at low risk and are being low risk of being taken over by robots, with 87% of the jobs we talk about in the creative industries being described as low risk. So as a sector, we're resilient, and as a sector, we're future-proof. And as John said yesterday, our resource is our people. And those statistics, having looked at your statistics online, won't be very different. The numbers will be different, but the trends will be the same. Beyond the creative industries, there are creative jobs in almost all businesses, small, medium, large, global, ranging from staff running websites, IT companies, communications, events, marketing, technical, craft. As this table illustrates, creative jobs in the creative industries have grown by 138% in the UK since 1997. All jobs in the creative industries, that's creative, but there are also non-creative, I don't like the phrase, but ordinary jobs like administration, finance, marketing, sorry, not marketing, they would kill me, by 45%, with over 2.6 million total jobs. And the point made yesterday about joining up with these other areas across the wider economy is really important, and live events is a very good example of that. There's a report out recently in the UK, and one interesting thing they've described, which is not a new thought, but it is an important one, is that there's a cultural infrastructure around an ecosystem between the commercial creative industries and the subsidised arts organisation. The BBC has also done similar research that suggests that when there's a commercial creative industries do best when there's a subsidised sector in the background, and better, I'd say, when there's an education system underpinning both. The subsidised arts are important economically, but also arts activity, professional, amateur and voluntary, builds communities as important in the well-being of regions and neighbourhoods, and workers move between the sectors. Another driver is digital. The UK has been at the forefront of this sector with IT, digital games and technical crossover. But digital development is impacting much, much more than just games industry work and is changing the world of work and of entertainment and of education dramatically. Or I should say, in the case of education, it could change it dramatically. Creative businesses and education are often behind the curve in adopting the new technologies, online distribution, box office, new ways of publishing, live event streaming, well-deployed websites. And as John said, 24/7 access to resources should be an easy thing, but very few education institutions are bothering with it. Importantly, any young person coming into our workforce will need to be a fluent user of all things digital. And linked to this, globalization has driven change, making it possible even for micro businesses to work internationally. So what do we know about the jobs? And this is the real business case. 43% within the creative industries are self-employed, and this is where the growth is. This brings with it some big challenges for educators. A lot of young people are not going to be employed. They are going to work for themselves. Most of the businesses are micro. 78% of creative businesses have fewer than 5 people, and this is growing too. And this suggests that the challenges for business themselves in terms of the burden they're taking on with young people is quite big. Young people may not be job ready. And creative businesses can't compete with big companies like Apple and Microsoft in terms of in-house recruitment, training, HR, or if they can, they're working with 1 or 2 recruits, not hundreds per year. A lot of colleges in the UK have over the years relied on supplying students to the nearby car plant or to a local manufacturer. Creative industries don't operate like this. They also find it impossible to offer work experience and engage with schools and colleges day to day. And even in big organisations, and for example, I worked for 15 years at the Royal Opera House in London's Covent Garden, where we had 800 workers. But an opera house and a theatre is basically a little sort of series of small businesses. So you've got departments for carpentry, wigs, welding, costumes, millinery, marketing, education, press, and so on. And at an organisation like the Opera House, there was no transference between the department for opera shoes and the department for ballet shoes. They were completely different specialist areas. And that's just true in the creative industries as a whole. Or indeed, there's no model for attracting awarding bodies and examination boards who want big numbers of students to take qualifications and won't develop qualifications unless they have, say, hundreds of thousands of applicants. So developing a level 5 qualifications for 30 learners is something you're going to have to do yourself and take the burden in-house. Creative industries are also much more highly qualified in the UK, with 57% of the workers qualified at level 4 or above. That's graduates and postgraduates. In comparison to only 32% of the workforce in other industries. Well, this sounds positive, but it hides a load of issues. A lot of people are overqualified for the jobs they're doing and are using jobs, entry-level jobs, just to get a foot in the door. This makes for rapid turnover and poor productivity. Because the jobs are attractive, there's a culture of unpaid internships that we in creative and cultural skills are trying to change. Because often, only those young people whose parents will pay them to work for the first year can get jobs. The diversity statistics are poor as a result, and the UK creative industries are not attracting talent from all parts of society. And this means we're missing out massively on talent, both in terms of social background and in terms of geography. And many of the graduates are coming from general arts and humanities courses in the best universities. They're not graduates trained to work in our sector. Consequently, many of them are overqualified and underskilled for the available jobs. Ooh. What happened there? Oh, sorry, I did the wrong thing. I did blank. Also dependent on fashions, fads, and familiarities with our audiences. Our artists are often working for their own interests rather than economic drivers. And as I've said, lots of the bigger companies are actually just clusters of cottage industries. So the creative industries are an area of strength, but there are lots of skills issues, and there's a central paradox. And this is something I'm always asked when I talk about the labour market statistics. How is it that the creative industries are doing so well, and yet I can't see the new job opportunities for the next generation? And for teachers and lecturers, what information can I give students about course choices and careers options, and what is the best thing I can do to prepare my students for the future? And for employers, why am I faced with lots of graduates, perhaps not so true here, but certainly true in the UK, who aren't suitable for the jobs I've got? Well, there are several messages for educators that arise from what I've said so far. So the next little bit is about the education side. If 40% of the workforce is self-employed, then the rhetoric around educators preparing people to be employed is misplaced. If 1 in 7 workers is self-employed, this will rise further, with all self-employment predicted to overtake public sector employment by 2020. This is an area we know well. Most of the creative industries are freelancing. So by 2020, over 18% of the UK workforce will be self-employed, and many more will be in SMEs. Everyone is going to be like us. Our young people will need the entrepreneurial skills to make jobs, not look for them. Growth will come from young people able to make a living, a profit, or a business from their creativity and passion. This is how the creative industries operate. And as technology gets cheaper, it's easier for young people to make a living as a musician, a video artist, a web designer working alone than ever before. Self-employment in the creative industries is different from other sectors. It's more portfolio working, which relies heavily on networks of co-workers, commissioners, project working. So it needs social skills as well as technical skills. And these are often gained in broad arts courses. Importantly, educators who are running courses for young people working in the creative industries need to ensure that there are opportunities for them to start working as freelancers during their course and during their education and during their course of study, not after. They need to embed enterprise in the curriculum offer. They need to learn to be freelancers. And this is a familiar story for this conference. Backstage, not on stage. For those who will be employed in the entertainment industry, they will be backstage, technical, front of house, admin roles, and probably not on stage or on screen. Some of these areas require very high level of skills, like events, live events and production. And we all know this. But unfortunately, young people coming through don't. They still want to sing, dance, act, perform, and there aren't the opportunities. Even, dare I say, our arts councils focus on singing, dancing, performing, art, but don't focus on the other areas. Only about 1/3 of the jobs are in the actual creative roles. There are more jobs in support roles, and yet if you analyse the prospectuses of any college or university, you'll see that most are general arts and humanities courses, performing arts courses, art and design courses. This has hardly changed in decades. This is because courses are put on in reaction to student take-up, not relating to available jobs. We talk about employer leadership, but universities and colleges are paid by their learner numbers, not the numbers of young people placed in employment. So often, young people are attracted to the sector by celebrity culture, get fame quick, or they just don't know what other jobs are available. And their careers teachers certainly don't know. Even successful actors rarely work more than 12 weeks a year. They have other jobs. Most young people will not understand this until they've left training. Careers advisors aren't aware of the bigger picture, and all areas of the performing arts are split between a handful of superstar artists, a long tail of low-paid practitioners, augmented by an army of technicians, front of house, administrative staff. Third, young people need to be T-shaped. I'm glad I'm not starting now, I really am. It's going to be too hard. That is, everyone will need to be both deep, with deep skills, and a wide range of other skills. Workers with a depth of experience in a particular field, for example, graphic design, craft, music, technician, but combined with an ability to collaborate across disciplines, work with other people, and respond to immediate challenges. Just as on stage we look for the triple threat of performers good at acting, singing and dancing, so we need everyone to be specialists, have digital skills and be enterprising. But more than this, we need young people with curiosity, passion, a love of learning that extends way beyond taking qualifications and completing education. They will need to be problem solvers, collaborators and enterprising throughout their whole career. So insofar as we know what the future looks like, we can guess what companies will need: designers, web designers, builders, social media, digital staff, technicians equally happy with live and live streaming, account managers who understand creatives but can interface with clients. We'll need people who are skilled in technical and technician roles, makers of garments and costumes as much as designers who build, where there's an oversupply, carpenters, technicians, metal workers who can build sets and scenery, designers who are equipped to give in both technical and client-facing work, people who can make and do as well as those who can conceive ideas, traditional craftspeople who have computer-aided design and traditional bench skills, and individuals who direct and film and manage sound in one person, and events technicians. The point is that we'll need more high levels of creative practice and adaptability inside everything, and we need a workforce that can adapt to change as the industry changes, but also deliver to the highest level technically. Because unlike some sectors where the customer can always buy a cheaper product, when they can't afford an expensive one, no one wants to see a bad show or attend an unsafe event. Part of being the creative industries is that we have to be the best. So what do schools, universities and colleges need to produce? And can they do it themselves? Unlike other industries, there's a well-tested road that leads from course to qualification to job to career, with all the training at the front, I exaggerate a bit, and then the career at the end, like maybe teachers or nurses. The creative industries comprise a myriad of jobs, change all the time, and require ongoing renewal of skills. And I don't know about you, but I haven't ever met anyone who has progressed up a ladder in their creative career. Everybody I know, including myself, has moved from job to job to job, sometimes in a complete sort of ad hoc way. And since I left teaching in 1983, I've never had a job that existed when I was at school. So look at our creative website, Creative Choices. We have hundreds of individual job roles and case studies on our website. And how can an education system cope with that? And by the way, while I talk about the Creative Choices website, it's free. Please use it. And I had this idea this morning. Why wouldn't we just add lots of jobs from South Africa on that website? And so that when we have our gathering together next year, we have got a careers site already made that has got a South Africa specific body of workers. So what is clear is for a sector of micro businesses, fast changing needs with fickle clients, there is no one size fits all solution. It's no good coming up with a global skills policy outlining some ideal courses and ideal qualifications that will suit everyone. By the time it's designed, everything will have changed. What works for live events won't work for jewellers. Even in one company, like the Royal Opera House, training for ballet dancers is opposite in every way to training for opera singers. We need to work with schools, colleges, universities, and independent training providers in a much more nuanced way. So at Creative and Cultural Skills, we've been trying to address these issues for a while, and I have had to admit it's been a very long haul. Sarah has been coming to our conference over the last 5 years, and 5 years ago we talked a lot about what we wanted to do with apprenticeships, and only this year have we had actual apprentices taking the floor and speaking about their experience. Examples, real examples of how the workforce can transform quite quickly if you want it to. And as I've said, funding in the UK is based on student numbers, and qualifications are delivered in a world where students don't understand where the jobs are. But the first piece in the jigsaw for us was apprenticeships. We recognised early on from our skills assessment, another free resource you can get online called Creative Blueprints for music, performing arts, craft, etc. Take them, find and replace. That there was no genuine vocational entry route into the creative industries. It's predominantly a graduate profession. So we have huge skills gaps. And because of this, there's been no systematic engagement with the creative industries by further education, so TVET. This was a real missing link in our system. And in the absence of such a system of apprenticeships, further education colleges have just replicated the general performing arts and design courses that are already producing too many students. So building the right frameworks from zero has been challenging, but the results have been extraordinary. And I firmly believe that the German system is right, and when they make apprenticeships as the central plank of their system. Because if apprenticeships are in place at level 2 and 3, then there's somewhere to go, both in terms of vocational and academic options beyond level 3, and a clear role for training providers at level 2. And the Germans have also got it right when they accord equal status to vocational and academic qualifications. And I'd advise you to look very carefully at the system Randall described yesterday, because it's there and it works. And their system started in 1200, and they haven't really changed it. They've improved it hugely over and over again. Our guild system started in 1200 too, but since the 50s, we've been changing our system every 5 years, so there's no continuity. So the work we've done to create apprenticeships has been huge. And the first time you work with employers to design apprenticeships, you only get the basics, and you have to just keep rewriting the apprenticeships again and again. And Andy, who'll talk to you next, is actually going to be creating the next generation of apprenticeships for our industry. So I'd like to show you a little film about our apprentices.
I made the choice to light up the stage.
I made the choice to set the scene.
I made the choice to design and make beautiful things.
I made the choice to turn my love for jewellery into a passion for making it.
I made the choice to keep our heritage alive.
I made the choice to reimagine the future.
I made the choice to get in on the act.
I made the choice to make some noise.
I made the choice to become a master of my craft.
We all made creative choices.
Our apprenticeships are like the German ones. They comprise an actual job plus training. And that training is usually in a college. But there's a huge but. Colleges have found delivering apprentices very hard indeed. To start with, we produce 6 frameworks at level 2 and 3. Technical theatre, live events and production, music business, costume and wardrobe, cultural venue operations, community arts. We've added a lot more since then. Again, please feel free to steal. Quite obviously, apprenticeships are jobs and training, but colleges can only commit staff and resources if they have 10 apprentices on the same framework in the same place at the same time. And of course, this doesn't happen, or it only rarely happens. For example, in places, big urban centres like London, or in a job area like community arts, where you might potentially get a cluster of people. So to deliver these apprentices, we've had to become a recognised training provider. And apprentices are in the workplace most of the time, but we've actually managed to create a system where they do their theoretical work online and attend occasional training courses. Because like colleges, we don't have 10 apprentices on the same framework at the same time either. So we've had to develop a new way of delivering the model. This model is quite new, and it uses iPads and Moodles, and is something that we could easily export. We've had 4,000 creative apprentices since 2009, delivered across the UK, but our sector has created many more apprentices than this by focusing on all entry-level vacancies, not just the creative jobs. So there are many apprentices in business admin, marketing, finance assistant, events assistant, and so on. In other words, the generic jobs that all sectors need. And this is where our further education partners can deliver apprenticeships for our sector, not so much in the specialist area. And this is what I call the skills pyramid. The broad general skills, as I've described at the base, broad and balanced, John's creative curriculum, not yet available in the UK, by the way, to create our T-shaped people. Then, general academic and options post-14, increasingly in specialist areas, including apprenticeships and specialist training. And for the latter, we'll need providers like Sarah, who can specialise and provide pre-employment and on-the-job training delivered with professionals whose practice is current. And we saw a brilliant example of that yesterday from Adrian at the Backstage Centre. This is just an example of our Creative Choices website, which I'll pass over. But to get where we were with the colleges, I felt that we needed to build a proper dialogue with the education sector. After all, they've got the funding to do the training. There's not much sense them doing the wrong thing and us trying to raise money to do the right thing. Not much has been said so far about funding training, but even if there's all the money in the world, we need the educators to spend their money to the best possible effect. So we've built a national network across England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales of further education colleges who want to work in the creative industries. And by the way, we have to translate everything we do into Welsh so that our frameworks are in Welsh too. So I do think it's really important to develop initiatives in the language of the young people wherever they are. So work-related learning doesn't come easy to colleges. So it's very important for us to meet with the principals and heads of faculty regularly to agree ways of working together. I introduce them to industry professionals. I need to understand their needs and challenges, funding, inspections, qualifications, and all the industry sectors to deal with. This is where my digital nativeness is not good. So we work with these colleges, and what do we do with them? We provide them with a menu of options. They attend our annual industry conference and meet employers. We promote what they do in the industry. We run best practice events and creative and CPD for tutors to get their tutors inspired. We have an annual awards ceremony, Best Apprentice, Best Training Provider. We have a programme of nationally supported live briefs and competitions, as John described yesterday. A lot of support materials are online. And there's lots of lovely free resources online. We broker work experience and we identify apprenticeships. We need to do this at Creative and Cultural Skills because 70,000 small businesses can't. And what we have learned is that we need to do everything we can to ensure that colleges can do what they do best, particularly at level 2 and 3, in the more general areas, so that we and our industry partners can deliver the bespoke training. And let's not forget that need continues way after first jobs into CPD. So the final point I'd make is that the solutions are best delivered when they are place-based. We don't want 40 colleges across the UK delivering courses for jobs that don't exist. We see the best outcomes where schools, colleges, creative industries and employers work together in a town, city or place based around a group of employers who have a specific job role or can create new jobs. That's growth. The training needs can then be matched very directly to local job needs. I mentioned a place-based approach that we've developed as a prototype in Thurrock. It's 17 miles east of London, and it was needing major regeneration. In practice, it could be 1,700 miles from London because it's remote, unloved, and students there rarely progressed to further or higher education 10 years ago. The local council was deemed failing, and all the schools had very poor results. So a group of us, the local council, the Arts Council, a development corporation, the Royal Opera House, Acme Studios that provides affordable studio spaces for artists, a local FE college and a university. Together we've been developing over 6-7 years this 14-acre derelict site as a cultural hub. And I believe we can create such hubs anywhere, in urban centres where there's already arts infrastructure to build from, or in places where such a grouping needs to be developed. It's about building a sustainable model of activity across education, and in our partnership now, all our colleges pay and all our schools in Thurrock pay, because it's very important they're committed with creative industries and public events. having education inside all the industry activity, as well as providing training for students. So just as Adrian has created the Backstage Academy company of students and graduates who can work for clients as part of their course, so we create our own different sorts of events and activities on our site for the local community who have no other access to arts, and that in turn provides training and on-the-job opportunities for students, and that in turn creates jobs and work. We have about 100 people now working at High House Production Park. Last week we had a general election and we ran the count in Thurrock in our building, and the students got to see the live event, which was very exciting because it was a marginal constituency, not a terribly good outcome, but they were able to work live on the job. And I think that's the other important thing about this. There's no point doing anything mediocre. You have to do something that's wonderful. So I'll close with this film.
High House Production Park is greater than the sum of its parts.
I think the High House Production Park really has changed the area because it's brought so much opportunity.
All that we do gives opportunities for young people, and they've been able to work with people at the top of the industry in a way that they could never have done before.
The great thing about High House Production Park is that it's a community of artists and artistic endeavour, something that people wouldn't have believed was possible in a place like Thurrock even 10 years ago. That's what I think makes it so great and so special.
The production park is a 14-acre site with a brand new set of facilities, especially for the creative industries. The Royal Opera House builds all of its sets for its stage here. Acme Studios provides over 40 studios for practicing artists. Creative and Cultural Skills run the Backstage Centre, which is a state-of-the-art training facility for those that want to work in our industry. And we have lots and lots of community events and education events provided by the partners on the park.
High House Production Park is amazing because there are so many different partners on site, each with a different speciality, but together we can communicate and collaborate and create projects and opportunities that are much bigger than what we could achieve individually.
One of the things we've been able to do at High House Production Park is to raise the bar in terms of the sort of activity that's here and available for young people in Thurrock. We've had film companies, we've had music acts, we've had conferences here. People like Leona Lewis, Line Productions, Diversity, the dance troupe, they've all been here in Thurrock, which would never have happened before without the Backstage Centre and High House Production Park.
This is where world-class organisations in the creative and cultural sector come together to do business. But they also come together to inspire the next generation by providing training and skills opportunities, particularly for young people in the local area.
Working here has sort of helped kickstart my career in a massive way.
It's working with the best people and they can teach you all the latest techniques. It's amazing.
The Backstage Centre is a state-of-the-art, incredibly flexible space where industry can rehearse and perform and young people can get opportunities to train and learn alongside that, so that when they come out of their training, they're ready to go straight into the industry and make a real difference.
It's really providing affordable creative workspace for local artists where there was no provision before.
I think it's bringing everyone together kind of thing. There is a quite good buzz here.
A lot of doors have opened through us being here.
It's been a superb opening for me.
I think it's amazing that this is local. We need something that brings the area up, and this does that.
High House Production Park's really stimulated local people to think differently. It's brought a creative and cultural sector for employment and for training that didn't used to be here, and it's brought a great quality name in the Royal Opera House and in the National Skills Academy. So it's added a new dimension to employment and skills and the cultural sector in Thurrock.
We've had letters saying, this has changed my life, and I think that's, particularly special.
We're seeing people taking part in the arts, taking part in the creative sector.
It's just lovely to be involved with it all and having the chance and the opportunity and to be taken up tomorrow to Covent Garden to sing there. I mean, where can an old Essex girl like me get the chance to do something like that?
The great thing for people in Thurrock is that it's on their doorstep. That's really important. So it's expanding communities and allowing those communities to link up with each other. And education always does that because it brings people from all over.
We've got a number of exciting plans. We've got a new development that's in train, which is Royal Opera House's Costume Centre, which takes all of our production costumes and much of our historic costume collection, brings it together, and also creates space for young people to work at the highest level in costume production, and that's something which we're doing in partnership with South Essex College. So that's the next development. Beyond that, we're looking at other creative uses so that in 3 or 4 years' time we have a self-sustaining cluster of some of the finest creative practitioners in the country working together here.
But the creative industries are one of the fastest growing sectors in our economy, and it's incredibly important that we support their growth. And the way of doing that is to make sure that we're providing the best opportunities to skill up the next generation. And for the arts sector, this is their opportunity. This is their place where they can inspire the next generation. They can ensure that they can offer the widest opportunities to the largest range of people so that our industry is successful now and into the future.